The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon and welcome to this webinar titled Improving Shopper Experience: Is Closing Retail Stores the Solution? Our presenter today is Giri Iyer, who is Executive Vice President of Analytics at OSG. Giri has over 25 years experience in advanced analytics in healthcare, energy, and retail. Prior to OSG, Giri worked in GE Healthcare and Energy, Compaq, Philips, and Siemens in P&L management, corporate strategy, and business development. Giri also launched GE into the software as a service market with Smart Grid as a service offering and Internet of Things analytics space. Without further ado, let me turn it over to Giri. Giri?
Thank you, Geeta, and good morning, good evening to you, wherever you are. We appreciate your time. So let's get into it. Most of you are aware of the significant growth that e-commerce has experienced in the last few years, particularly driven by Amazon. There have been articles written and published querying about the sustainability of pure brick and mortar stores. The threat of e-commerce is fairly real, and there are indeed an unprecedented number of brick and mortar companies that have failed to adapt in the last recent months. We have seen a series of those closings. So our first conversation really is about, the threat is undoubtedly real, but how should retailers, how should the retail space evolve? As you can see here, on the left of the screen, there is a wonderful economic analysis that was done, which was showcased on the Wall Street Journal, which talks about how a retailer who brings on jeans sales through an online store can practically double their margin because they offset their store payroll by simply offering some free standards in shipping. I wanted those of you to take a look at the image on the right. Is the lady there buying jeans? Or is she buying an image of herself in the jeans? Some of the questions she may ask ourselves is, how do these jeans fit me? What about model A versus model B versus model C? What if I want to take these jeans home and rip them and then I put some bling on them? What if I wanted a second opinion? What if I wanted to get jeans from somebody I can trust rather than an unknown store online? How easily can I return? So these are some of the personalized questions that she's asking herself. And I don't know whether you agree with me, but these are some of the challenges that online organizations are facing right now. So with that in mind, let me engage you, the audience. Let me ask you your first question, please. And the question is, you in the retail space, whether you're a retail analyst or you have a passing curiosity or you live in this space today as a consultant or as a company that actually is struggling to compete in the retail space on a day-to-day basis, what are the top reasons you think you are losing business today? Option A, Amazon. Option B, my location is bad. Option C, too much competition. Option D, we never have enough marketing dollars. And option E, we really don't know why each customer is choosing us. Please take the next few seconds to lock in your vote, if you will. I'll keep it open for just a few more seconds, and then we'll look at the results that you participated in right away in just a few seconds. So Geeta, why don't you shut down the poll here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's see what you guys had to say. In just a second, you will see what you all collectively agree on. So here we go. Too much competition is 60%, and we have an even split between Amazon and why the customers choose us. That's a fair one. That's a good one. So that brings us back to a very important conversation, which is, if there is indeed too much competition, how do you differentiate? And we'll get to that differentiation part here just a bit. But I wanted to share with you some very interesting insight from a recent study that was done by Forrester. And yeah, people who are buying online really still today prefer to buy using a desktop or a laptop when they are in the confines of their office or home. Purchasing through their phone yet seems to be very young. But if you look at the top right here, you do see that there's at least a good 1 in 5 chance that people want to see something in the store before they buy it. It is also equally important today that the experience that you offer as a retailer from online to offline is seamless. And people certainly are expressing a 60% interest in saying that we will engage with brands that truly helps understand me better. This goes to the 20% of you who said, we don't necessarily know this. Now, a couple of points I wanted to make here. First is there is such a thing as trolling online and buying offline. And there are a set of products and services where customers seem to be doing exactly that. But I've also heard some interesting stories of people who troll offline, like for example, for electronics, and then go back and buy it online because they believe the price is cheaper. So both do exist. The bottom line being it's important for you as you evolve to be thinking of both online and offline and a seamless experience through the both of them. Which brings us to a very important point. This seamless experience is in the end for the shopper, the customer. And here is one illustration, if you will, of a customer experience journey. And if you start at the top of the ellipse, how do you make somebody aware of who you are? For those of you who said there's too much competition, your challenge is how do you make somebody aware of who you are? If you believe the 60% problem is getting awareness, let's start with that awareness battle, because if people are not even aware that you exist, then the choices are very stark. Once they are aware, then they go to step 2, familiarity, to step 3, consideration, and step 4, the very important step, where you are in the short list of organizations they are contemplating for their purchase of a product and or a service. And then there is an important chasm between the purchase intent. Do they actually reach for their wallet and choose us? And once they do that, there is definitely a risk of leaving something in the box and not using it at all. That does happen, but then you hope people use, and you hope that they like, which is the next natural evolution. Do they take the time to evaluate and rate? Because we do spend a lot of time saying, hey, rate us, rate us, rate us. And there is certainly a I'm fatigued paradigm around don't ask me too many times what I'm thinking, but unless we know what they're thinking about us, are they enthusiastic about us? Do they share things about us? Do they choose to come back to us and do more business with us? And do they do that because they actually trust us? And do they trust us enough to actually become loyal customers, where we can start doing fancy analytics like recency, frequency, monetary value, lifetime value, and lifetime commercial value, etc. And then the most important and difficult step, can we actually get somebody to be as enthusiastic as a GoPro user who was happy to, for free, jump off a cliff and take a video and put it on YouTube, free advertising? That's all we dream about as retailers. So these are the 12 steps, if you will, in the customer experience journey, where we are talking about managing the seamless experience, be it offline or online. Let me now tease you with a different visual. And as you look at this, you can visualize this as a funnel laying on the side, reading from left to right, or you can visualize this as a fishing net. And these numbers are obviously for illustration only, but think about you fishing out there, and then there's 1,000 people in the world, and you're doing an amazingly good job to have an awareness of 600 out of 1,000. How many of them then claim to have this, what we call unaided recall, familiar with you? Oh yeah, we know you, we want to come in. We certainly have an interest to buy something now. Yeah, we're looking to buy, and they finally make that all-important purchase, and they go down the funnel from the left to right to finally reach that very, very difficult and exalted position that we want, where they are our vocal advocates, not only internally in their organization, but externally sharing in the digital social world their advocacy. The one thing that stands out in this funnel or the fishing net, whatever you want to call it, is the level of personalization. So before I go further, I did want to see if you could ask you a couple more questions and get your perspective on this, please. So Geeta, if you will. Now, whether it is these 12 stages or not, or something similar, the question is, do you track customer experience across these various stages for your commercial processes today? This is a very simple yes or no question, and I do appreciate you engaging with us here today. So if you don't mind quickly stating your answer, and then we'll move to closing this particular question response in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let's see what you guys said. 75% of you said no. Wow. Okay, interesting. Let's ask you the next question. And the question really is, do you know how much a company spends roughly in this funnel that you just saw a little bit ago? At which stage? How much does it spend? And do you know how much a company spends on customer experience management, in customer acquisition? I'd just like to understand the texture of the employees or the organization that are listening to us today. Again, a very, very simple yes or no question. So if you will, go ahead and lock in your answer. Geeta will show them the response in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And thank you for participating in this work with us. It's a 60-40, with 60% of you saying no. So at that point of time, let me now move you to a next visual. And I wanted to kind of give you an illustration of what I mean, which is, let's begin at the top of this ellipse again. There are some people who will come and say, I can do a search engine optimization or search management kind of service, and I'll charge you $2 a prospect. How about I get you 2,500 prospects? So that's going to cost us about $5,000. That's one way for you to spend your marketing money. There are other companies that will come to you and say, give me $7 per lead. I'm in the lead generation business. Forget prospects. Leads are better than prospects. And if you give me $7 per lead, I will actually email them 3 times, and I will actually call them 3 times, whether using a human being or otherwise. But we will promise you 6 touches. And research show that people really will move to the next level of the engagement if you do that. So here we go. We can potentially knock on 714 doors with $5,000. And then when we truly elevate somebody from a lead to a validated screen hot lead, you can put a sales leader on it, and then the sales leader is potentially chasing 200 of those leads. And there is probably, some will argue, no substitute for that. And there are some who would say, we just do advertising, and we are a social media electronic purchase company, and we don't have to have sales leaders. And then there are those who will say, we really need to have customer feedback, so we'll give you a $50 coupon. This is just an argument, just the numbers are for illustration purposes. But let's give people a $50 incentive, and let's get 100 users to respond to this for $5,000. And last but not the least, somebody might come and say, you know what, I'm going to actually invest in their travel, invest in a conference, invest in a speaking session, and have this person talk about how wonderful we are, and how great a success story we have had over the last 12, 24 months since we have worked together. So if you had only 5,000, where would you spend? There is no right or wrong answer. And some of you will say, Giri, the right answer is we really should have $25,000, and we need to put 5,000 each one of those locations. And you would not be wrong. You would not be wrong. But the argument is we really need to be looking at each stage. And at each stage, we're looking for different touches. If that is indeed true, let me then introduce you just a little bit into who we are at OSG. OSG, we call ourselves the catalyst for customer-centric marketing. We obsess about one thing. We want to look into the shopper's mind. We are looking for predicting future behavior. We want to help you understand what your customers want and why they feel that way. And we want to help you develop actionable insights and use these insights about your customers and their changing, dynamic, pulsating behavior, so that as a combination of our behavioral cognitive analytics, we can help you grow and grow through that differentiation. Remember, at the beginning of this conversation, we talked about 60% of you said, there's simply too much competition. Our answer, clearly, as you can see, is about helping you grow through differentiation if you believe in standing and fighting the fight rather than shuttering your stores. Now, here is an example of typical micro-targeting. Micro-targeting has got its recent share of fame while we have been doing this for a long, long time. Some might call it spam, some might call it telemarketing, some might call it direct mail, some might calling it social marketing, email marketing, what have you. But basically, you do some market research and you basically thrash around and slice and dice your data around what people's perception of quality is and price is and convenience is, understand the demographics and understand the brand and the impact of the brand and the value of the brand and the price sensitivities. And you basically find those people now at the right of the page who you really want to understand and target. And you're doing that by finding your way through these various filters down so that you can spend your marketing dollars smarter. And you spend your marketing dollars smarter because there's only so many dollars to have, and you're under constant pressure to demonstrate higher return on investment on those marketing dollars. That is exactly the right strategy. We have absolutely no dispute with that. That is exactly the right strategy, but we do think there is something really missing. And this is what we believe is that first step. What is the point spending so much money on securing shopper engagement and pouring hundreds of thousands of dollars down into digital marketing with radio ads and TV jingles and advertising on Google and Facebook and Twitter if you don't understand shoppers' expectations in the first place? We think, and this is what we tell our customers all the time, it's about the 3 E's, and they do go in order. Step 1, the first E, understand the shopper expectations. We have to do this first. Otherwise, you run the real risk of squandering your marketing dollars. Number 2, if you are understanding and listening to your shopper's expectations, what are you doing to improve that shopper's experience? Now, you're not going to do absolutely everything they're asking for. There is obviously an optimization function there, but given your constraints, given the trade-offs, what are you going to do to improve the shopper experience one at a time? If you do that, we can guarantee you that there is going to be a 20% improvement in shopper engagement. We have demonstrated that over 800 times in the last decade. This is what we mean by the 3 E's: expectations, experience, and engagement. How do we do that, you will ask? Now, this can be a little busy slide for those of you who are not necessarily technologically inclined, but we happen to be the world's best at trade-off analysis using a proprietary Stanford-based algorithm called AceMap. And that is simply put, the world's finest trade-off engine, and we are the world's foremost practitioners of trade-off analytics. We do these kind of studies, AceMap studies, for our customers for multiple things: shopper engagement, shopper expectations, price sensitivities, message testing, store location vitality, and predictive modeling on messages and product features, even, that we help people do that all the time. When you take this kind of an analytical engine and then bolt on some of today's world-class machine learning platforms, in our case, we are using some of the really cutting-edge stuff from IBM Watson, and then we put in nice visualization tools. What you then find is a platform called Cavi, capable of ingesting primary and secondary, structured and unstructured text and voice and video and images. And then we do the analytics. Some are available off the shelf, so you don't have to go around trying to hire too many data scientists. We do this smart. We do this through a continually smartening engine that is capable of learning on the fly. And then for people who are executives presenting to their customers, presenting to their stakeholders, the so what? And then how do you communicate this? Do you communicate this via email? Do you send text? Do you send notification? Do you send regular reports? Can you visualize this on the phone? Can you visualize this on a tablet, on a PC? The answer is yes, yes, yes. You can do all this with a software as a service paradigm. That is really Cavi in a nutshell for you. What does it do? What does it do? It really gives shoppers a chance to engage with you. So it is no longer a broadcast conversation. This is a bi-directional conversation. This is a conversation that is happening two-way. It's like going to your optometrist, and the optometrist puts something to block one eye and then asks you, do you see better with A or do you see better with B? Do you like this better? Do you like this better? If so, how much more do you like it better? So it's that kind of a gamification, that's kind of a continuous dialogue with the shoppers that we are able to do with our continuous monitoring system. We are able to use the latest technologies today and then deploy it in such a way that people can answer some of these questions from the comfort of their home, choosing to share their social media information with us or not, choosing to use their voice or not, and choosing to use their webcam or not. There is no right or wrong answer. All we are looking for is a level of conversation. As and when we do that, we do believe there is a missing ingredient to the micro-targeting that OSG brings to the table. You have been listening, the 3 E's have been working, and you are now developing a history of trust and a relationship with the customers. They are beginning to understand that you value their time and their feedback, and while you may not say yes to everything they want, there is a very clear amplified signal to noise ratio. There is a very clear amplified message that is resonating at a higher rate with them. And as you do that, the micro segments are far more vibrant in color. This is what we really mean by mass personalization. And we genuinely recommend to you that this is a much better way for you to compete, not only with those stores that surround you in a 5-mile, 15-mile, 15-kilometer radius, but also the many, many online stores, because believe me, Amazon is not the only one out there. There is a lot of noise right now about so many companies, so many online. So how do they differentiate? They have their own challenges. We believe mass personalization truly tied to customer centricity is the best way to go. Let me give you just one case study before we open it up to any questions that the moderator may have seen. We are not going to name anybody at this time, but we welcome a conversation with you regarding other case studies that we can talk about. But here was a regional retailer looking to launch a loyalty program and trying to figure out what is the viability of this program, concerned about ROI, hard-earned marketing budget. What should we do? What are the attributes this program should have? How do we retain our most valuable customers? Now, mind you, this is just one example. There are many, many, many retailers that we have talked to who constantly tell us, we know how to retain our most important customers. How do we acquire new one? Believe me, the methodology doesn't change much. What works well for the customers who choose to stay with you is probably going to work extremely well. You just have to message it right to those who don't know about you. What we did was a phased approach. We conducted some interviews. If you've already done that, great, we'll take that information. We conducted some focus groups. If you've already done that, great, we'll take that information. We did do a fair amount of analytical modeling, but that's what we do. We are an analytics company. And yes, we do a lot of segmentation and customer journeys. What we did was recommended an approach based on our strong quant and analytical pedigree and using engines like AceMap and the platforms like Cavi. And the result was that the target segment clearly grew by 5 points. We were able to really highlight the segment that need to be focused on by this retailer and this specific program. And the business impact, as much as we are comfortable sharing with you, is we saw an amazing story there, which is no store has seen a decline. They were in line with the expectations, in line with the dynamics of each of those markets that we had loaded the models with. And the forecasting model has held its ground. So it is an example, and there are multiple such examples of how OSG is helping launch billion-dollar drugs in the marketplace today in the life sciences space, or million-dollar medical devices, or working with some of our consumer packaged goods companies, or quick service restaurant chain partners that we are working with. We are certainly very, very excited about the prospects of helping you and your customers today. And I will leave you with some contact information here. So if you feel so inclined, you may drop me an email or call me with your ideas. With that, I'll bring this conversation with you to an end, and I will open it up for any questions that you have seen, Geeta.
Thank you, Giri. At this point, we don't have any questions, but if the audience if any member of the audience needs to contact you or Dr. Sukumar, can we have that slide so that we have the contact information? Yes, and here's the contact information for Giri and Dr. Sukumar. should you so want to have further conversations with them. We have recorded this presentation and will upload it to our website at www.osganalytics.com. With that, we thank you once again and wish you a good afternoon.